play. Now, mean projection for this team, according to Football Outsider, 7.3 wins. So they're not very high on this Bears team. Playoff contender 25.6% of the time. Of course, that's their 9 to 11 win range that they talk about winning the Super Bowl, 0.9% of the time. They have the 6th toughest schedule in the NFL as we enter 2021. Sharp Football has them projected at 7.5 wins. So 7.3 from Football Outsider, 7.5 from Sharp Football, and we get to Pro Football Focus at 7.6 wins. So kind of right on the number that we see here for this Bears team. And again, Gil, we talk about playing the alts, and I think with this Bears team, you really just have to go with how you feel this team is going to play out, because I think you either are playing an alt over or an alt under, and I don't think you're playing this 7.5. If you think Justin Fields takes over in week 4 and he really just, ignites this team and they go on some sort of run or something, you're probably playing more of an alt over for this team, because they're going to have some upsets in order to get there. And then if you think that this team sticks with Andy Dalton too long, if you think that they don't go to Justin Fields in week 4 like we kind of think that they will, and Matt Nagy ends up running himself out of a job, maybe you're looking at an alt under on this team. I mean, the offensive line is going to be terrible. We saw Andy Dalton, getting battered all over the place when he was in the other night. 28th graded head into the season. Both tackles from last year are gone. It made them go out and sign a 39-year-old Jason Peters to come in and play left tackle. Signed him off the street here on the right side. It appears it's going to be Elijah Wilkinson, who has to move for the third time in 2 seasons. They've got James Daniels and Cody Whitehair, who've been decent, but they're not good. So this offensive line could be a pretty serious problem for this team. And again, yet another reason why we keep saying, and everyone's screaming, play Justin Fields, play Justin Fields. Why are you not playing Justin Fields? And we keep pointing to the schedule. Look at the schedule. You play the Rams on the road in week 1. You play the Browns on the road in week 3. 2 of the better defenses and 2 of the better defensive lines in all of the NFL. You don't want to stick your rookie out there. 1, not only because the defenses are good, but 2, because his offensive line is going to be bad. And so you don't want to get him beat up all over the place in the first 3 weeks. And so wait until week 4. And that's what we think is going to happen with Justin Fields. The defensive line should be good. 6th heading into 2021 overall in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. We know Khalil Mack is an absolute beast, one of the most dominant defenders in the entire NFL. He is actually the most valuable edge rusher in the league, according to Pro Football Focus's WAR, and has been for the last 3 seasons, to just let you know how good he's been.
Did you catch that story about the Raiders reaching out in the offseason about a trade? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, trying to get him back or something. That's a very Raiders.
Sorry to jump.
Very Raiders thing. So you put Khalil Mack in there with Akeem Hicks. Eddie Goldman, who opted out last year, is going to be back for them. So defensive line overall should be really, really good. And listen, only 3 teams blitzed less than this Bears team did last season, which lets you know that the defensive line was actually getting it done pretty well. That said, I imagine they'll have to blitz a little bit more, because you're going to want to increase that pass rush win rate, which was in the bottom half of the league actually for this team. So I imagine we're going to see at least a little bit more blitzing on behalf of the Bears this year. The secondary could be where this team really gets tested. So Kyle Fuller's gone. Kyle Fuller, one of the very best cornerbacks in all of the league. And so they replaced him with Desmond Trufant, a guy on the wrong side of 30. And whenever you look at a guy at the cornerback position on the other side of 30, this is when we always start to look and say, okay, cornerbacks fall off a cliff kind of like running backs do. It's just one of those things we see, that these guys are good, and then all of a sudden they're not good anymore. So huge shoes for Desmond Trufant to fill in Kyle Fuller, and we'll see if he can actually do that. Jalen Johnson was a rookie last year and actually had a pretty promising season. He actually ranked 3rd in the NFL in forced incompletion rate amongst corners who saw at least 50 attempts come their way. So that's obviously super promising. The only problem is being a rookie, you probably have rookie mistakes, and he also allowed 14 yards per reception in his coverage as well.
Whoa.
So broke up a bunch of passes, but when he didn't break them up, he gave up huge yardage. So as a rookie, you expect stuff like that. You think that maybe here in year 2, he takes a pretty big step and can, on the other side of Desmond Trufant, maybe this cornerback tandem can be a little bit better than people think. Eddie Jackson, Sean Gibson at the safety positions, they're just average. They're not bad. They're not really good. They're just going to be average. And so this secondary might be a place that this team really does get tested. And so if they play above expectation, maybe this defense is really good. Yet again, if they play below expectation and they don't get him as much pass rush from the defensive line, maybe this team could be in for a whole heap of trouble. But really, we go to the offensive side of the ball, and it's like, okay, look, even if this defense is good, are they going to be able to move the ball? Are they going to be able to score? And that's the thing here that we keep talking about. We don't expect them to have very good outings against the Rams and the Browns, and that's 2 of the first 3 games of the season. But from there, it does lighten up a little bit. It does get a little bit better, and we're thinking that there'll be a quarterback change. So maybe it's not the end of the world. Now, Matt Nagy, who is supposedly this guy that he was supposedly known for being an offensive guru and all this stuff, the Bears have ranked 20th, 25th, and 25th in his 3 seasons in offensive efficiency. That is not good. We need to. If you're a Bears, if you're a Bears guy, you're going to need this to increase as well. And so again, maybe that has to do with the quarterback position. Maybe that has to do with a little bit of scheme change. The one thing that has been super consistent with this team has been Allen Robinson. They go out, they franchise tag him. He's going to get hugely paid in the offseason. He has 2,397 receiving yards over the last 2 seasons. That is only behind Steph Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins. And so whenever you look, when you look, he's sitting at 1,090 and a half right now receiving yards as his receiving prop, right? Well, if you go over the last 2 seasons, if you average that out, of course, he's over that. 1, we have an extra game this year as well. And 2, we do expect there to be better offensive production whenever they go to Justin Fields. So, 1,090 and a half, I understand you're still betting on a receiver to go over 1,000 yards, but it's if I were to have to play one way or the over on Allen Robinson, especially whenever you're looking at kind of the other options there, which isn't a ton, and Justin Fields, if he's going to be the playmaker that we all believe, and the schedule kind of lightens up and stuff towards the middle, and then again at the end, I think a nice little overplay on the 10.90 and a half on Allen Robinson. I can't imagine outside of injury him not having the same production that he's had over the last couple of seasons with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, right? Or Nick Foles at quarterback. And this team couldn't do anything on the offensive side of the ball, but he was the one consistent that could actually continue to produce here. So I do kind of like that.
I got to tell you, it's not a good sign usually when DraftKings only has like 2 of your offensive players listed on their player totals. But yeah, Allen Robinson was one of them. David Montgomery, you're the only other one.
Yeah. And so when you look at that, I think Allen Robinson is a pretty decent, again, overbet, and we have to just kind of consider injuries, right? And we know that there's a chance he could get injured. It is what it is. If you're going to bet these overs, that's just what we're dealing with. But again, I think that the yardage, I don't know about the touchdowns because I don't know how much this team's going to be scoring. And again, one of the things is when we look at these yardage totals for these premier receivers as well, if you do think this team is going to be poor, well, that actually works in your favor, right? Because then they're not running the ball near as much. They're throwing all the time. If they're throwing from behind, defenses are typically playing softer coverage, and you're getting a bunch of free yardage, and you're getting a bunch of free stuff for Allen Robinson as well. That doesn't necessarily mean touchdowns. That doesn't necessarily equal touchdowns, but it certainly equals yardage. And